my purpose was to try to articulate risk and resilience management from the perspective of risk management, or risk manager, someone, And well, we have the world of risk to the left, and we have the world of resilience to the right. Okay, and broadly speaking, risk is a negative consequence of uncertainty on something that people value. Okay, this is the definition we use in IRGC. It's a broad definition. Of course, sometimes it has to be refined, fine-tuned, but this is how I put it. And on the side of resilience, we have what I call a property of a system that indicates its ability to prepare and plan for, etc., etc. And at the end, I finish by and transform itself if needed, if necessary. And my proposal for this first slide is to say that risk analysis is used to inform a process by which resilience is built when and as needed. So this is a proposal. Take all of what I'm going to say as a proposal. Next, in IRGC, we worked with, Ordwin Hein worked with us, and he proposed that instead of talking of human-made risk, risk, technological risk, and risks of natural origin, we focus on the type of knowledge, and we characterize the knowledge we have about the risk. And we have 4 types of knowledge: the simple knowledge, it's not here, complexity, uncertainty, and ambiguity. And complexity is about the identifying and quantifying causal links. Uncertainty is about basically we cannot precisely describe. Okay. And ambiguity is linked to controversies, conflicts. Sometimes there are trade-offs that have to be made. And I will use these primarily the first 2 categories, complex risk and uncertain risk, to propose a kind of mapping of risk management strategies. I will first, this is the kind of trilogy of IRGC methods or instruments or concepts for risk governance. And today I will only speak about this one, which is the one written by Ordwin Hein. It dates back to 2005. This is the simplified presentation. And I will not speak about the emerging risk governance concepts, nor about the slow developing catastrophic risk concept, which is something which would extend too much beyond my 5 minutes. But resilience is present in all these 3 approaches to risk. So, going back to complexity and uncertainty, we have two ways to look at the risk. First, we look at the source of the risk. Okay, hazard, agent-based strategies. And second, we look at the impact of the risk. And this is where we have vulnerability. Okay? And you will guess here, I will come with a kind of 4 boxes in which I will put things. The first box here is risk-informed strategies, when the risk is characterized as being complex, and we need to have more information about the source of the risk. Okay? The second box here is called robustness. The risk is complex, and we need to work at the level of the impact of that risk. So we need to either reduce exposure or vulnerability. And this is where we need to be, the term we used here is robust, strength. The third and the fourth box are strategies to deal with uncertainty. In the first here, dealing with the source of the risk, we have precaution-based strategies. I don't mean precautionary principle. I mean just an approach to risk that is based on prudence, And so it's being prudent, and it is not make irreversible decisions. The fourth box, it is in this fourth box that we have resilience. And what I want to show here is that resilience is one of 4 risk management strategies. This is my proposal, And really, in short, it is preparing to cope with surprises. I think that this slide has also some strategies to deal with emerging risks. And here you have adaptive management and resilience planning back again, because of the nature of what we call emerging risks marked by uncertainty, change, and sort of at the end of the day, for the risk manager, it is the lack of familiarity with the risk. Now, just a couple of illustrations. I want to illustrate here robustness versus resilience. There is much focus on resilience, but don't forget robustness. this is a case, this is an example from flood management, okay? If you can do that, water exclusion strategies, building resistance, if you believe it will be enough, at least for small events, well, do it. Because frankly, it is much less expensive than these strategies, building resilience, building floating houses, which is being made increasingly in the north of Europe, in the Netherlands. But the attractiveness of resilience here, it's okay, we have to do it sometimes, but don't forget also this type of very basic strategies, but it works, So let me finish by a few examples. Here on risk-informed strategies, I would say, well, the purpose is, for example, in the case of climate change, reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Robustness, building dikes, levees. Earthquake-resistant buildings, In earthquake-prone areas, the first thing to do is building codes that will tell people how to build their houses, Quite often this is missing, at least in many countries in the developing world. Land use planning also. Precaution-based strategies, so avoiding building coastal cities, human settlement close to areas that may be flooded. Exclusion clauses in insurance policies. This is a very, very easy trick that insurance companies have, to make people understand that there is a risk that they are not prepared to insure, And this is regulation, Resilience strategies, dig canals to let the water into cities, coming back to the previous slide. Build floating houses, build redundancy, transfer risk to insurance. This is another strategy that brings resilience to affected organizations. And for this last case, emerging risks, against which we'll have to, it's good to prepare resilience. The term that we use is planned adaptive management or planned adaptive regulation. So our first definition of resilience was to describe this as a protective strategy. And now, especially as we move towards risks that we understand as being emerging or marked by uncertainty and change, we move towards a definition or at least a characterization of resilience where we intend to develop strategies for adaptive risk management. Oh, there's one more. I don't know what has to be done for resilience management, but I think that something we can do is determine what are the objectives. And this is proposed by Odwin Rijn 2-3 years ago to guarantee the functional continuity of the system and the critical services it provides in case of stress or disaster, to limit the extent of impact and losses if the services are discontinued, and to ensure fast recovery if the provider of the service is unable to continue to provide the needed services. And that's it. Yeah, thank you.